In this video series, we're going to be designing hands to go along with our fashion croquis. For this series, the tools that you'll be needing is the hands pamphlet, as well as your hands homework worksheets. You'll want to have a clear ruler, a number 2 pencil or an artist's HB pencil, and then your plastic eraser. If you have a smaller detail eraser, just make sure that it's white and not pink. Of course, you'll want a pencil sharpener. And then we have white copy paper. This paper is the 8.5 by 14. And again, the reason I like to use this is because it's really inexpensive and it's also a little bit see-through. So if you want to put something behind it, you can trace right over on top. All right, let's get started. So far in this series, we've already learned to do the layouts for your hands. So again, this would be your left hand and your right hand. If you don't know how to do this yet, then you missed one of the videos. So go back to the part 1 for the layout and you'll learn these formulas for doing the hands. Take out a clean new piece of paper. Sharpen your pencils, and again what we'll do is we'll come down 3 inches from the top edge and we'll draw a straight line. Going the length of your paper. And then we want to come in 1/2 of an inch from the left edge. So then you can measure off 6 inches. Give yourself 1 inch space, so this will be 7, and then come all the way out to 13. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a layout for the left hand and the right hand, and we can go ahead and do this together. So just so we have some reference here, let's put W at the wrist of this hand and W at the wrist here. And then out here we can write finger tips, just so you don't get lost on what you're doing. Go ahead and find the middle, which would be 3 inches. And then what we want is from the left hand, we want to come out from the middle point to the fingertips again and find that halfway point, which is 1.5 inches. And then on this hand, here's the wrist, so going this way, we want halfway point towards the fingertips, 1.5 inches. Then out here at this quarter mark, go ahead and put your oval in. That represents the wrist width. Let's go ahead and split that in half. Double check your measurement, and then come out here and get 1/2 a wrist down, 1/2 a wrist up. Make sure the total is correct. And the total should be 1.5, and the halfway point is 3/4. So then you can get your wrist out here, and then let's do the same thing down here. Now what we're going to do is we want to go 1 wrist width heading upwards. And again, this was that 1.5 measurement. But get used to using your pencil. And then as a beginner, go ahead and just double check that that is 1.5 inches. And then remember, this is going to connect back to the top of wrist. Then heading downwards from the center of the hand, again, we want to do 1/2 of a hand. So that was this full distance from here to here. So again, just practice with your pencil. And then go ahead and double check. It should be 3 inches. And then this will connect to the bottom of the wrist. And then just for the sake of being accurate, go ahead and come out to the middle of the hand and square up a line as well as at the quarter and the fingertips. Later on in time, you won't be doing these straight lines and you won't be using a ruler, but for now it's good practice. So let's go ahead and get our arcs, and let's label these A, B, C, C, B, A. And our arcs for A, remember, they curve inward. B will do the same thing. And then B and C will connect down here. So let's label this B and C. And again, here's your fingertips. The arcs right here are the same for C, and then this will connect back to B and C. So let's do the same thing on this side as well. So the layouts that we just did is the same as in your pamphlet, pages 13 and 14. At some point in time, you're going to want to make sure you have this totally memorized, and you'll be able to do this without even using a ruler. And again, later on, your croquis are going to be very small. So when you do these layouts, they're only going to be about 3/4 of an inch, and sometimes even smaller than that. So let's go to the next page in the pamphlet. This is going to be pages 15 and 16. What we're working on here is we're going to do a flat hand view. Now you'll see this quite often on a runway, and from a straight on point of view, it looks like her hand is flat like this, and she's curling these 3 fingers back. But she's not really doing kind of like this gun pose. What's happening is as her hand is relaxed, but from a front view, all you see is these 3 fingers bending back into space. So let's go ahead and start up here with step 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the left hand like we see here. And then after the full demo, I'll do a right hand as well. So step 5, we're going to start developing the middle fingers. If you look here at 7 and 8, there's a guideline coming across. And that guideline is exactly 1 wrist width. So if you'll notice on your own hand, if you take away the pinky and the thumb, your wrist is the same width as your 3 fingers out here near the fingertips. So what we can do is if we take her wrist and we bring it out here and connect it with lines, we'll know about how much room we have to draw these 3 fingers. So let's go ahead and get that wrist width going up and down. So again, at this scale, it's 3/4 of an inch down, 3/4 of an inch up, and then you'll have your wrist width going vertical. And then we can come back and we connect this back to the top of the wrist width. So here's our guidelines, and let's label that 7, 8. and back here, 7, 8. For D, what we're looking at here is the pointer finger coming out to the arc on C, and it's touching the guideline on 8. And the pointer finger will eventually come back to F. This is going to be your pointer finger. Again, D is somewhere here along the arc C, as well as this guideline 8. So let's just do a small little half moon shape right here to get started. E is going to be your middle finger, and middle finger is in between the center of the hand and touching the guideline at B. E is going to be the middle finger down here at arc B in the center of the hand. So let's go ahead and get a small half moon arc here. And let's label this E and label this D. Now what we want to do is we want to find this webbing in between the pointer finger and the middle finger. F is going to be the webbing from your pointer finger and your middle finger where that webbing ends, and that's somewhere here in between arc A, arc B, and from the center of the hand going towards this wrist guideline. So if we come down here to arcs A and B, and somewhere below the center of the hand going towards this guideline number 8, somewhere in the middle of that is going to be this webbing turnaround. So for now, go ahead and just put a mark there in the middle and connect back up to E and connect back over to D. And here we're starting to develop this line going from this half moon shape to this half moon shape. G is going to be setting up this stair stepping for your ring finger as well as your pinky finger. If you'll notice, the webbing here at F is a little bit lower, so these come back up higher towards the B arc, and they will stair step down like this and this. So let's label this F for your webbing turnaround. Now G is going to be these stair step going from here to here, and again G is going to be higher than F, so make sure you're moving up towards B and you'll have these stair steps, and label those G, G. Now, like I was saying before, these 3 fingers will fit in between guidelines 7 and 8. So here we have the middle finger. The ring finger will eventually come all the way down to touching 7. So you could start to draw it and get a sense of the half moon shape coming back into here. And then we can see where this middle finger will come back as well to this guideline at G and G. Eventually, the pointer finger is going to fit inside of here. And so you want to make sure that the pointer finger is a little bit smaller than the middle finger, and the ring finger is a little bit smaller than the middle finger. And you'll have another chance later also to fix these finger widths once we have all 4 of them in place. Step number 6, we're going to work on developing the palm and the pinky. So you can see H starts right at the wrist, I has a light indentation, and J is coming out further than the guideline, and A is back to the guideline. So H is here at the wrist. I is going to indent inwards, and J is going to go outside of the guideline, and then once we come back to A, it will touch right here, right back onto this V-shaped guideline. So H will go from here, I dips in, J sticks out, and A touches back. And what J is this part of your palm that's really soft. For developing the pinky, once you go from J to this A curve, then it's just a straight line from A to A. And you'll cut that back in to touch G, and you start to form your pinky knuckle. And you're also keeping in mind that the pinky knuckle is stair stepping down, so it's smaller than these two. Once you hit A, we need to develop a finger knuckle for our pinky here, remembering that it's going to be lower than these two, so it should stair step, stair step, stair step, boom, boom, boom. So we're going to come in here, and from A to this is just a straight line, and there you have your pinky knuckle. The next step is step 7 for your palm and thumb. What we're going to do is K, L, and M. You're going to start at the wrist width and cut in and come outside this guideline. M to A, you'll come back to the guideline, and from A to B and C is just a straight line. So K is going to be the same width as your wrist. L is going to cut inside of this V guideline, and M is going to come back outside of the guideline. And then back here at the A arc is when you'll be back to touching this guideline. If you notice here, you'll start to see that H going to I was the wrist width cutting in and then back out for the side of your palm at J. It's exactly the same as K at the wrist width. It cuts in a little bit for L and back out to your palm here for M. So what we're doing is we're emphasizing this bump on your wrist and how your hand seems to cut in here and pop out here and here. Then we want to go from A to B and C. So this is basically just pretty much a straight line. I'll actually slightly curve inward a little bit. Then to finish the thumb for N, you'll curve the thumb around. The webbing will come back and touch at the A arc. And then you're going to go from N back to the tip of the pointer finger for O. And we want to finish doing our thumb. Now we know that the thumb is going to come back to the arc at A, so somewhere back in here. And remembering that the thumb is a profile view, so you're going to want to have where the skin curves up to the thumbnail, and the thumbnail is just a straight line. Coming back to the arc at A. Now what I want to do is I want to finish this pointer finger. And again, this middle finger should be the largest. So right now, if you need to fix any of these fingers, this is the time, because I'm going to use this for a measurement for my pointer finger. So again, if I'm looking at the middle finger, it should be evenly split over the middle of the hand. The ring finger should be touching line 7, and the pinky finger should be somewhere here inside of the V and line 7. So for me, mine are nice and evenly spaced, and I can see that this is large, medium, small. So what I want to do is I want to have large, medium over here. So if I take the measurement of my middle finger and I start on the edge of my pointer finger and I get that measurement out here, I want to make sure that my pointer finger is smaller than that. So then I'll know that as I turn around and come back to the tip of the pointer, that this finger will be a little bit smaller than the middle finger. And in this instance, I've made it a little bit too small. So I'm going to go ahead and just erase this and get that one more time. Also keeping in mind the rule that it's going to be wider here and it's going to taper as you go towards the fingertip. Now if you've done this correctly, you remember that the wrist width is the same width coming out here for her fingers. So this knuckle from the ring finger all the way to the tip of the pointer finger all should fit in within one wrist width. In the handout here, I've shown just a little basic thumb fingernail as well as her pointer fingernail. And we'll go ahead and we'll do that on ours now. So just for practice, do this with me now. So the pointer finger is going to turn and come back. And when we do a fingernail for this, all we need is similar to a J. So this would be, for instance, the letter J. So I'll come in here and I'll just simply do a J. And that's about all you need. If you wanted to, you can straighten her fingernail right there. The second one is the thumb. So if you recall, the fingernail is straight and then the skin is coming out of here because this is a profile view. And in this instance, it would be like the letter L, but the corner of the L will be rounded off. So here it would be an L shape, but rounded on the corner. And you can see that there's a lot less fingernail because this is the profile view, this is a flat view. So go ahead and do those on your hand that you just drew. Now that we've finished this flat hand view, one thing you want to keep in mind is that this is her left hand. So for instance, if I turn this sideways and then we compare it to a hand on a model, you can see that this would be her left hand on her left side of her body. So let's go ahead and above here, let's label this L for left hand. A few other things I want to do is, now that I have the basic hand laid out, keep in mind that basically at this point you are done and this would totally pass for a hand and everything's good to go. But if you want to refine it just a little bit more and make it look just a little more realistic, something that we need to do here is your webbing on your hand actually goes a little bit inside of these knuckles, which would be this guideline A. So what I'll do in this instance on the flat hand view is I would take the webbing from the pointer finger and extend it here inside of this arc A. But I'm also looking at the pointer finger and I feel like it's just a little bit thick in this area, so I'm going to both trim a little bit of that away and extend the webbing out to here. So if you want, go ahead and watch me first and then you can do this right after. So again, I'm going to bring the webbing into here and I'm going to just trim a little more off of that pointer finger. The next thing you want to do is the thumb itself is also a little bit inside of your knuckles here. So then I'll go ahead and have this thumb start to turn and cut in as well, just beyond that arc A. And then basically inside of here would be like a little shadow from your pointer finger casting a shadow onto the thumb. A few other things that I've done here is I've already gone in and trimmed away a little bit of the thumb here. I was going out a little bit too far. I just wanted to trim some back into this area. And I'm seeing here that I cut a little too much out on the thumb here. It's a little bit too hyperflexed. So what I think I'll do is I'll come back to here and just kind of flatten it back out. And so basically, this is getting a little more realistic, having this webbing extend into this area. Again, the way that we had it before would be okay, especially keeping in mind that eventually, when you're drawing for your models, that hand is so tiny anyways that you really don't even need a lot of information. And you can see here, basically, I just have where her thumb is slightly rolling out, and then her fingers back here are just little bumps. Boom, boom, boom. Now let's do the other hand, and everything is going to be going in the opposite direction. Now that you've completed both of the flat hand views, go ahead and on this one we want to do the same thing where we're going to add this little bit of a webbing here, and then just double check, do I feel like the pointer finger is a little bit too thick, or the thumb is something's weird about it, or are her palms a little bit uneven or something strange. So this is your chance right now to go ahead and fix these. So what we'll do is we're going to do the same thing with the webbing. We'll take the pointer finger and we'll extend it here beyond the arc A. So go ahead and do this with me now. We'll take this pointer finger, we'll extend it beyond arc A, and then for the thumb, we'll have that go a little bit beyond arc A as well. And then we can throw just a tiny little cast shadow on there. When I'm looking at my palm down here at M, I kind of wish that it stuck out a little more down here and flattened out sooner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this. And again, I want it to be a little flatter through here. And then the palm will stick out and head back for the wrist bone right there. So all these little refinement things, it's just a way to get better at drawing. But keep in mind, as always, that your drawings are going to be so small in the end that you're not going to have much room for doing all kinds of little fine-tuning and tweaking and stuff. So don't get too carried away with that. Now that you've completed the flat hand view, I want you to scan this and you're going to submit this to me online. And then when you go into your hands homework, on page 2 is where we have the flat hand view. Keep in mind that everything inside of this box is exactly like you need to draw it. And as well, you're going to notice there's the diagram, letters and numbers for when you did your guidelines. I want to see these also. So I want to see the 7 and 8, the D, E, F, G. So make sure everything you see here as well. I recommend also to just draw in pencil right on top of the guidelines that are already here, and that helps your hand get used to these different arcs, and then you'll start to draw your flat hand views here. Again, the view I left here is the most simplest view you could do. If you want to make yours a little more advanced looking, go ahead and extend the webbing down a little bit more and add a little more to the thumb if you want. And the fingernail I'm noticing on mine might be a little bit thick here, so maybe you would want to make yours a little bit thinner and smaller. Then just below these, we have the hands going vertically. And this is actually really important because keep in mind, when you're drawing on top of your croquis, all of your hands are actually facing downwards. So that's why I have you doing number 3 and number 4 going vertically. Keep in mind that this is where the thumb is on this side and the thumb is on that side. So this would be her left hand and her right hand.